I look like I got beat up or something.
Did you not get beat up?
I'm sorry, for the record, I did not get beat up. They accidentally elbowed me during jiu-jitsu.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
It was from a white belt. I did not get beat up.
No! Dude, what about, like, lessons in your 20s? Like, that'd be a fun one.
Genius! Whoa! Pearl, please. It calms me down.
It's like top 5 lessons, like...
I can't do tops because then... That was a gay joke. Welcome
to the
Energy and Heart Podcast
featuring
Jiggy
and Steph.
Ta-da!
Today is a really special episode.
Wow!
Because it is the week right before Jiggy turns 30 and enters a new decade. And we want to use this episode to honor all the lessons that she's experienced in her 20s. And you guys are in for a treat because this woman is so full of wisdom and knowledge, and she's going to free-flow that shit. And, like, usually people have to pay for this shit, but we're here.
Yeah. Wow. A whole decade.
Yes.
10 freaking years, baby.
10 years, dude.
Wow. Holy shit, a bitch has been through a lot.
Should we go, like, year by year? Like, should we go, like, year, like...
That might help. Let me pull
that,
up
like,
my
just
Facebook.
I think the intention of this episode is to honor your 20s, which is one hell of a chapter, and then set intentions for this next decade. What you would like to see, what you like to manifest. The year is 2012. The year is 2012, 10 years ago.
I turned 21 in 2014.
Am I doing my math wrong, bro? You're turning 30 this year, right? Which is 2022, so it's like minus 10. Then you would be turning... Why do you say you turned 20 in 2014?
21 in 2014. So 20. I'm so bad at math. This is
why you don't do math.
I just need to count. Okay. 31. In 2012, 22, I'm 30. I'm sorry, we're gonna fast forward this 1 second.
Okay, how about you do the year and I'll do the number, okay?
Okay, 2022
is 30.
2021.
29.
2020.
28.
2019, 27, 2018, 26, 2017, 25, 2016, 24, 2015, 23, 20...
14.
22.
How was that? How was I 2020, 22 in 2014?
Okay, what year were you born?
1992.
Okay, like 20 years is 2012. Like, what the fuck were we doing?
Wait, why am I getting this so...
You graduated from college 2014.
Yeah. When I was 21. Oh, because I was turning 22.
You were turning 22 that year, though.
So I was 21 when I graduated, but after...
Yes.
I graduated
in
May, but I was 20.
No, but...
Okay, so I was 21. Okay, so 20... Okay. 20... Okay. 20! What I learned from 20 when I was 20 years old was when I really started to tap into what it is to be a leader, because that's when I became like a student manager at the food court in school. I was the president of my dance crew, and I was a teacher's assistant for a course for over 800 students. So in all those 3 roles were different ways of being a leader and an influence. And on top of that, because that was also the year that my mom passed away, I wouldn't say that I navigated through those experiences with emotional intelligence, as in like, oh, I was a great leader because I was so emotionally intelligent and self-aware and I totally knew all about boundaries and communication skills. No, I think that I tried to be a great leader by actually ignoring all of my emotions. When my mom died, I just got on the bus to get back to school on the day of her funeral. So looking back, I can't say that I navigated a lot through emotional intelligence. Like, I just remember randomly in the middle of the day just end up crying, and I didn't know why, but it's because my mom died. But that year was one of the most challenging years because I had so many different things going on and a lot of expectations from a lot of different people. And so I know that I let a lot of people down, and I've been called a bitch plentiful of times by people. When I was 20 years old, I think I was just starting to tap into like exercising what does it look like to be a leader. And I can't say that I was perfect, but I did get a shit ton done. And they were done with excellence, which still lives in Penn State to this day. So yeah, I know I did my best, and that's all I gotta say.
When are things not done with excellence on your part?
That's right.
20 was towards actually like end of college, right? Or like junior year.
Yeah. For me, it was junior year. That's also when I taught myself how to drive. Like I invested in a driving school by myself, and I taught myself how to drive because I told myself that I'm not gonna turn 21 without a driver's license. Because in New York, you don't really need a driver's license. To this day, I still have friends who don't have driver's license. And the only reason why I got a driver's license is because I was living in Pennsylvania for college. So I wanted a car. So that's the only reason why I got a driver's license. But I remember, like, on the fun fact, I remember on the day of my driver's test, like, I made the wrong turn to get to the location of the testing. But in the wrong turn, I ended up going through this park with these, like, really beautiful trees. And there was this breeze going by, and the sun was gleaming through the trees. And I just suddenly felt my mom's presence. And that's how I knew I'm going to pass this test. Of course I'm going to pass the test, but I knew I passed the test when the person examining me was being like a complete bitch the entire time. But I knew I passed it when she started to ask about my tattoos. When she started getting friendly, like that's when I knew that I passed.
It's like her front that she had to do that. Yeah. Since 21 in this next year is like your senior year, I want to hear about your fondest memory from your senior year.
Dude, I gotta be honest, my senior year was so tough because I suddenly felt like my entire dance crew was like turning their backs on me, but at the same time needed me most. Like they had a really hard time understanding that I was no longer president because I was president my junior year. So because I stayed my senior year, even though there was a new president, they had a really hard time like navigating that I'm no longer president. So they would still come up to me with the drama and the bullshit. And I had a really hard time like setting boundaries. Yeah. And there were plentiful of times when I still took leadership role when I shouldn't have. And so I really wasn't clear on my boundaries either. But at the same time, I felt like they were taking advantage of a lot of the things that I established, but not giving me credit. And so I felt super lonely. I felt like no one really understood me. I was still navigating like what grieving is, even though I didn't really understand what I was actually going through and experiencing. But the one thing for sure that year, the most special thing, I guess, is like, so at Penn State, we have a thing called THON. And THON is an all year long effort to raise money for pediatric cancer research. So we used to do it all year long. They don't do it anymore. But all year long, we used to, go canning, which means we take cans and we go outside in the winter cold in like 30-degree weather, in snow, rain, whatever it is. We stand outside all freaking day. Cars passing by, we used to like take out the cans to raise money for pediatric cancer research. And so we do that all year long, and Penn State ends up raising over like $11 million every year. But THON is a weekend where we tally up all of the donations that the school as an entirety has gathered. So all weekend long, you have representation from each student organization, and they get to dance on the floor. Dancing, being a dancer, means the representation of the org. And then to dance on the floor means we have to stay up for 46 plus hours straight, no sitting, no sleeping, and no caffeine. The intention of it is to just experience a little bit of what the kids go through. My dance crew, Ram Squad, had our own 4 Diamonds family that my best friend Marge and I worked really hard to obtain. I ended up being one of the dancers that year. My best friend Sarah Min was the other dancer, and so she and I went through the 46 plus hours together. Ram, my dance crew, also ended up performing at the final 4 hours, which means that the entire center was jam-packed with thousands of people. Sarah and I are on hour 42 of not sleeping. We were like absolutely delusional. And at that time, we had to get on stage to perform a 10-minute performance, which is like crazy. But yeah, it's truly like when you're a Penn Stater and you get to be a dancer, it's like one of the most special memories you can ever have. And that's like a bond that Sarah and I have that can literally not be broken. Yeah, that weekend was amazing. My best friend Gloria ended up coming to surprise me. My brother showed up, and that was a complete surprise too. That was a complete surprise too.
I feel like these experiences in college, like, this is like one of those experiences you just like carry on forever.
Oh yeah.
I feel like you guys still talk about THON with like Marge and
dude,
Sarah
Penn State's a
Alex,
cult,
like,
and so is THON. THON is a cult too. It's this like weird, dude. You just gotta like from an outside point of view, when you see Penn Staters at THON, it's like,
y'all on something. What's going on?
What the fuck is this? What is going on here? Everything about THON is such a representation of who I am. Like, I always say, because I did THON, I know I can do anything. That's why I'm not scared of driving at night, which is such a weird connection, but like, I'm just not afraid of traveling at night because I know I can stay up for 46 plus hours because I've done it.
That's wild to think that y'all stayed up that long. I thought all-nighters was a thing, but 2-day nighters?
This is why, like, hustle culture is like team no sleep. I haven't gotten sleep. I'm like,
this is like where you get it from.
With no caffeine, no energy drink, no coffee, no sitting, bitch. And it was for a good cause.
You really should do TikToks that like are like making fun of like speakers, motivational speakers.
Oh my god.
You know, it's really interesting hearing you talk about these experiences, because I start to thread like where you come from and like why you are the way that you like are, and like it's gonna be interesting to hear about the next couple of years, because I feel like there's always something like very consistent. But what do you think you learned from that experience of THON? I mean, other than that you can stay up like, you know, forevermore. But I feel like to do this like all year and be committed to it was like, what was your why and what did you learn from it?
Other than that THON is something that every Penn State student has to be exposed
like
to. There's like no way of escaping it. Like, whether you become involved with it or not, you cannot escape it.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of why I was so involved with it is because I just always was drawn to donation efforts or community service. Like in high school, I was in Key Club, and my high school's Key Club won like the Key Club of the Year type of shit. Like I was like all about community service, and I think that part of me comes from my mom actually. I love when efforts can be combined with passion or interest. And so that I think made it easy for me to be like, oh, this literally only makes sense. That's why, like, if I'm able to sell vulnerability as dope t-shirts and then donate the proceeds to somewhere, that's fun to me. That makes sense to me. That's easy to me. I love stuff like that. I love, like, supporting causes. When my mom was diagnosed with cancer my sophomore year, like, THON just became a little bit more special. And then Marge and I worked really hard on, you have to earn a family to, basically what a Four Diamonds family is when a child in that family has had pediatric cancer or has it. And so the money that we raise directly funds them and their hospital bills. Or some organizations like volunteer to babysit so that the parents can go on a date or something like that. And so it's a huge honor to be with a family, but then we became really close to our family too. And Marge and I used to stay up all night working on the application to make that shit happen. And obviously we made the application excellent. Like, I made a whole ass video about Ram Squad, and we're the only organization that did that shit. We're the only organization that submitted
A++ over here.
That we're the only organization that submitted an paper application and a CD. Remember CD?
A CD?
I had to burn a CD.
Did you just say a CD?
I had to burn a CD and put the video in it for them to pop it into their laptop and watch it in the big screen. And they said that our application was one of the best.
Yeah.
And Penn State has over how many student organizations? I'm sorry. But, yeah, so I remember the day that we got the email that we got a family, and Marge was, like, driving, and she had to pull aside because I called her. She had to pull her car aside for me to tell her the news. And then we used to always meet by this Starbucks on campus, and we literally like ran towards each other to hug and celebrate. But ever since we got that family, like it became more and more and more meaningful. And then Marge was a dancer her year too. And then so when I danced, she came to visit me too. So THON itself just has so many different meanings for each person.
It's like wild, I think, because I didn't know you back then. I see the excellence in like everywhere. Like this is truly like just part of your being. Like when you do something, you really are here for the A++.
Like THON was the reason why THON is considered the biggest performance of the year for my dance crew. And like when my mom was in the hospital, you heard the story when I spoke, but like when my mom was in the hospital, my back was turned to her the entire time because I was on the laptop doing work. I was working on our choreography for THON. I was working on like the auditions and all of that stuff for THON. The reason why, like the question of I'm gonna skip the semester to grieve, it never came up because it was no question to me. I had to go back to finish what I started. So the day of my mom's funeral, I went to the funeral, I got on the bus, I went back to Penn State. I made it just in time for THON dancer elections because I was president that year. And then from there, we constantly had to work on auditions and just making the performance the best as possible. And that was like the hardest year to be president because all of a sudden our organization blows up and we have over 50 plus active members. A bunch of freshmen come along and they're getting, oh, you're gonna love this. So a bunch of freshmen come along, and then because I allowed Terrence to be in every single choreography for THON, they thought I was playing favorites. And I'm like, Terrence is a junior. We've been here since we were freshmen. You're new here. How dare you say anything about you didn't put in half the work that we put in for 3 years. How dare you? That's the kind of bullshit that I dealt with my president year. It was so stressful. On top of that, my mom just died. I'm like, your drama is literally so small to me that I do not care. But then, of course, they call me a bitch for not caring. So anyways, but of course we killed that shit. So it wasn't just THON itself, but like just everything around THON. I learned so much every single year.
Okay, so now we're like 21. We're like 22, right? So that's like what, 2014?
2014 and 2015. I could talk about like 22 and 23 together because that was kind of the same chapter. So now I graduated from college and I had my first full-time job. The typical overworked and underpaid story. And I think that I was just doing what society was telling me to do. Like, after you graduate, go get a full-time job. And then you build up your resume. And then you look for another job and get paid more and more and more. And, like, it was to a point where we were working until 2-3 a.m.
What did you do as your first job? So
that one was so I worked in online retail. This is where I learned everything about creating t-shirts. Like, this is where I learned Photoshop. This is where I learned design. This is where I learned the quality of the t-shirts, different kinds of ink, how to heat press, how to count, how to align designs, how to fold t-shirts correctly, how to pull orders, put them together, send orders correctly, how to ship everything. Literally ship anything of all sizes and weight. I know how to ship a lot of shit. Customer service, email, in person, on the phone, like all that shit. Dealt with the most privileged, difficult asshole customers who used to curse me out on the phone. This was like the job, so sometimes we would stay at work till like 2-3 a.m. and go into work at like 8 a.m. This is where I was so into the whole like hustle culture mindset. So to me it was dedication. To me it was like, oh yeah, like be the first to arrive and last to leave, skipping lunch. And I would sacrifice like my gym time. I wouldn't work. It was like known fact that I knew I knew I wouldn't work out for a month during holiday season. And like I was an avid CrossFitter at that time. And so like all my gains would go away. And then I would like skip meals. I wouldn't have time to prep meals. And then I would buy food to eat all the time. So then the money that I was earning was going to buying food all the time. And it was like truly such a bad condition. But to me, I was like, I'm dedicated. This is how I'm going to climb the corporate ladder and like all that.
Don't ever say that again.
All that, bullshit, like build my resume to see what a company loyalty dedicated employee I am and like how self-driven I am. But that was also when I started listening to a lot of Eric Thomas. That's around the time he started his podcast. I would just listen to his podcast all the time. And so because I was starting to do that every day, one day I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for this office life. I think I'm supposed to be doing what Eric Thomas is doing.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started to tap into like what is this world? And so that's when I bought a Gary Vee book. That's when I bought a Lewis Howes book. That's when Lewis Howes came out with a book called The School of Greatness. I used to be obsessed with Lewis Howes' podcast too. And so I told myself that I bought the School of Greatness book and I wrote up my two weeks notice and I used it as a bookmark. And I said that when I'm done with this book, I'm going to turn in this 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. And in the book, it says, it's either Lewis Howes' book or Gary Vee's book. It says like, when you're young, take advantage of that. Like when you don't have family to take care of or anything like that, just take advantage of that and do whatever the fuck you want. And so like this is the time if you want to be an entrepreneur to explore it. So they said when it comes to support, just be clear on who actually supports you so that you're not surprised later or you don't waste energy explaining yourself to other people. Yeah. So that's what I put in my 2 weeks notice. That day I went home. I called up my friends one by one and I said, hey, I put in my 2 weeks notice today. I'm quitting my job to become a motivational speaker. Are you down with this shit or not? And 100% of my friends said, I'm down. 100% of my friends said, if you need a roof over your head, I got you. I had a friend who said, like, Jiggy, I can't think of you doing anything else. Like, it makes so much freaking sense you're doing this. Like, 100% of my friends all were supportive. And each of them in their own way over the years has shown that support to be true, too. There were times when they didn't, like, understand me making decisions per entrepreneurship life. And that was hard. But, like, all that mattered to me at the end of the day was that I had their support. So that was like 22, 23. I ended up quitting that job. I started a podcast. When I quit, like immediately I started my own podcast. I remember being so frustrated. At one time I had to do like an hour-long podcast 3 times because the fucking lawnmower was going off for so long at the most random times, and I would get so pissed off. And I was home alone. My 2 roommates were the people that I used to work with, so when they were at work I would be doing a podcast, but then I would be like cursing by myself in the house because like, what the fuck, this fucking lawnmower is going off again, like what the fuck. It was always like something or the other.
I'm laughing so hard because this is literally you to this day. Like, I'm literally cracking up because I'm just seeing all the things. Like, I see how, like, Eric Thomas was such a big part of, like, the beginning of that journey, your youth, and, like, to see you just, like, fucking hug him, like, get a hug from him, like, this year is just, like, incredible. Like, what a, like, 180, like, I don't even know what it, like, it's kind of, like, circle. Like, full circle, like, moment to, like, meet him, like, almost a decade later.
But also remember that I met Lewis Howes last year at an Eric Thomas conference.
I know.
And I told him this story.
Yeah, this is so wild. And like, what I really love is also like, this is something I noticed about you too. Is just like you really put meaning into the little things that you do. So like even down to that bookmark that you put in, like you designated it as something that means something to you, and like I feel like that's something that's so Jiggy-like, is like to like make something out of nothing. Like it's just like, here, this is what I mean, this is what this represents, and I'm gonna take that with me. And like I feel like that's so special, like especially as somebody who, like for me, when I grew through my experiences, I'm just like, oh, like that stuff, like, I don't need to do that, right? It's like unnecessary, right? But I really see that being like a very consistent part of your journey?
I just remember that, like, I think 23 was also the year that I was denied my baptism. I was super devoted, and it was either when I was 22 or 23, but after my mom died was like when I was super devoted into this life of like Christianity, because one of the things that I remember most in the last few moments of my mom was this like nun came into the hospital room, and she asked my mom, do you believe in God? And my mom like had barely any breath left, but she said yes. And like that's the moment that I remember most. And like in Christianity and Catholicism, you know, in the Bible it says like you're gonna go up to heaven, but the only way you can go up to heaven is if you believe in God. And I was like, okay, well the only way that I'm gonna see mom again is to go up to heaven. And so that was like my logic at the time. So
yeah,
that's when I devoted myself so much into Christianity, and I ended up joining like a Christian organization on campus. I was in like 2 different Bible studies. I had a mentor. I had like this special weekly group that we were in, like all of this stuff. And I even went on a mission trip, all this stuff. I devoted myself into a church. The pastor knew me. The head pastor knew me. Once I was like, oh yeah, I'm ready to be baptized, the head pastor was like, oh, that's dope, yeah, like, let's go. But then they had hired this new pastor who like had to interview everybody who wanted to get baptized, which is kind of rarely heard of. And so like I had to like get interviewed, and he was asking me for my God story. And so I told him my God story, like yada yada yada. And then he was like, oh, that's a really inspirational story. So let's talk about your sexuality. And I was like completely blindsided by that, because here I was like working so hard on becoming a good person. Long story short, I used to think that God hated me. So in order for me to go from God hates me to God loves me to I love God too, it took an immense amount of work and consistency and faith.
Right.
And so for this dude to come out of freaking nowhere and then all of a sudden say, well, how do you feel about your sexuality? And I was like, how do you mean? Like, what are you trying, like, what is your intention for your question? He said that he can't baptize me. And I said, I'm like very confused as to why you're saying this. And I felt like I was being cornered, to be honest.
That's so hurtful.
And he was like, it's not that I can't baptize you because you are gay. I can't baptize you because you are choosing to actively be gay.
That's what he said?
Yeah. So like,
what the
so like sin is when you choose to do something. So like I can be gay, but to act upon being gay is to him the sin. So then I just needed further clarity. So I was like okay, like I need more guidance on this. What do you suggest that I do? He was like, you need to repent. And I was like, okay, what does repenting in this situation look like?
Right.
Like I can't pray the gay away. What do I do here? He was like, you gotta break up with your girlfriend. And I was like, at that time, the girl that I was dating, the 2 exes ago, the one that I had the dog and the cat with.
Yeah.
And so he says that, and I was like, I'm not breaking up with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And so he goes like on and on about like some shit, and he was like saying stuff that like started to piss me off. He was like, I think he said like, I want you to just kind of understand where I'm coming from as a pastor. And I was like, I want you to understand where I'm coming from, that I'm not taking no for an answer. And I said, I don't, no disrespect, but I don't care about your opinions or thoughts. I'm still gonna get baptized no matter what. He said, you don't understand. I'm the one who baptizes people at this church, and I can't baptize you. And I said,
wow.
Oh, so it's not Pastor Le that's baptizing people, it's you? Because remember, he's a new pastor.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. So I was like, so you're not gonna baptize me? He's like, no, I'm not. I was like, okay, then we're done here. And so he's like, okay, and Jiggy, I just want you to know, like, we can come back and have this conversation again whenever you would like. And I invite your girlfriend to come next time. And I was like, I'm not letting my girlfriend meet you. And so he's like, okay, I totally understand. Do you mind if we close out by prayer? And so he prayed over the conversation. He prayed over us, and then I left. And I never went back to that church. But I was so heartbroken, and I remember like going back to my car. I called my mentor, heartbroken. I called my other Christian friends. They were pissed. Like, so many of my Christian and Catholic friends started to become really confused. Like, Jiggy is like, if anybody should be baptized, it's Jiggy. You know, it's like, how could she not be baptized? Because there's so many like terrible straight people who get baptized all the time.
Yeah.
And out of all people, how is it that Jiggy can't get baptized just because she is the way that she is? And a lot of my friends, like, they went back to their priests, they went back to their pastors to talk about this. Like, this situation confused a lot of my friends too. And it hurt for me to tell my then girlfriend what happened too, because she was hurt by the church, and so she's been skeptical of the Christian church.
Yeah.
And so when I told her this, like, it threw her over the edge. She was like, I fucking knew it, these churches, you can't trust them, blah blah blah. And meanwhile, I'm over here just heartbroken because I just thought that I worked so hard and it didn't end up happening. So I ended up like leaving my Bible study and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But then it turned out that particular pastor became cancer to the church, and like
Are we surprised?
like 2-3 years later, he left. He got fired or something. A lesson from that moment is like, for me personally, that I wasn't mad at God when that happened. I was just really mad at the church and its people. And that's when I learned, whether I call myself a Christian or a Jesus follower, it's like, it's really about the relationship that I directly have with God, and it's not up to anybody else but me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it sucks to say, a lot of my friends tried to like console me, saying that like, you don't need the church, Jiggy, like, it's between you and God. But the truth of the matter is, like, I love going to church.
Yeah.
I love singing worship. I love praying with other people. I love community. So it does hurt when, I tried going to church. 2 months later, I tried going to church, a different church. I go to another church. I tried this brand new church. Loved worship. It was popping. And then the sermon starts. And there's a whole big ass presentation on the wall. You know what the fuck it says?
Oh,
What the Bible says about homosexuality, part 2. I'm like, what the fuck was part 1? So I gave up. I hadn't gone back to church after that in like 2 years. I eventually got baptized a few years later at a different church, but
in San Diego, right? Was it in San Diego?
I lived in San Diego. I got baptized in LA, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of. Whew. Lord. What a time.
What a.
Oh my god.
Wow, dude.
God damn.
This is the first time I've heard this.
Oh, really?
Story, yeah. You've told me like that you were declined, but like not. You didn't give me the details of that.
Dude, he was a
That's
dick.
Yeah.
Dude, one time I was leaving church, like I'm in my car leaving the garage, and there's a little traffic. Lo and behold, who's behind me? That pastor.
Oh no.
I already didn't like him because one time he did a whole sermon about how he's never gonna see his uncle who passed away again because his uncle passed away, but he was gay. He did a whole sermon. I never liked him. Because he says that his uncle's not gonna end up in heaven because he's gay. I already didn't like him. So anyway, so like I was leaving the garage. I was leaving the garage and I like look over at the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Because there was traffic. No car was moving.
Right.
I see him just like so frustrated, like cursing in his car, like, let's go, like all of that stuff. And I'm like, this guy has issues.
I mean
like,
like,
oh my god. But yeah, that was 22 and 23. Any questions so far?
I think that was a very clear chapter. I think the threads that I'm seeing right now is just like, I think just how devoted you were to Christianity for a very long time, like actually. And so it's just disappointing, I think, to hear that was like part of your experience, but also seeing like where you are like now and still like navigating your own relationship with God. I feel like you really honor the same sentiment that you had from the very beginning, which is like, it's my relationship with God, not necessarily like this like church or this like person that's like here. So that's like think something that I'm seeing like now, like that has been consistent, I think, ever since like back then. But it's like sucks because it like complicates like people that you experience, I feel like your religion with, like can complicate the experience like that you have too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's gotten any easier, like,
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks that every time I try to, ever since then, before I try a new church, I have to go onto their website and see their what we believe in section.
Yeah.
And because usually churches always have what we believe here
Yeah.
section, and it usually says like we believe that the Bible is the book of truth. And then it says we believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. And so I prepare myself to not be disappointed.
Yeah.
And it sucks, like, and then like I go into church like not knowing, like, are they gonna talk about homosexuality today? Are they gonna talk about being gay, being a sin today? Like, are they gonna just like slide it in there? Like, it like I gotta kind of like stay on my toes. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yep. So from 23 to 24.
This is when you made the move, right? Like to
24 was when I made the move.
Yeah.
But from 23 to 24, I ended up being hired by a professor at Penn State and to become a lecture assistant, because after I quit my job, I was like connecting and networking with all these professors, brilliant professors at Penn State that I kept in touch with, and to like get encouragement, get their ideas, what their thoughts are on me quitting my job and all of this stuff. And I had a lot of support from those professors too. And one of the professors in particular, he and I kept in touch. Like, he's known me since my freshman year, so he's watched me grow up. And so I told him what I want to do, like motivational speaking, and he is known to have one of the biggest lecture halls in the entire campus. So I was like, what do you think I gotta practice? Like, you're in front of students all the time. Like, what kind of advice do you have for me and things like that? So he gave me some nuggets, but then like a day or two later, he emails me and he was like, you know what? I've been looking for like remember how like Ellen DeGeneres show, Twitch was like the DJ, but also like the co-host. So he was looking for like a Twitch.
Yeah.
So then he was like, dude, I think that you'd be perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up becoming a lecture assistant. And so that was a lecture hall of over 800 students again. And that class is known to be like overflowing all the time. We have like students who aren't in that class come to sit in that class because it's like, it's about race. The class is about race. And so that's how I learned of like everything I know now about like social injustice and stuff like that. And like facilitation and dialogue, and in class you bring up volunteers like from students who are Trump supporters and Hillary supporters, and then you have like the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter people come up, and like you gotta facilitate the dialogue, and like Terrence was one of the facilitators for that class too. And so like are New York cops racist or not? And then I had a debate with this white kid from Brooklyn who says that his uncle's a cop and there's no way that New York cops are racist. And I'm like, are you? And then, yeah, but from that class, because it was always live streamed, they always recorded whenever I spoke too. So I was able to actually take those clips and make it a speaker reel.
Yeah. Your version 1.
Yeah, so like that was kind of like me getting used to speaking in front of students. I mean, like I did that all of college. I always had to be in front of people. But like that was a great way for me to just like practice. And that was also the moment when I realized like I'm really made for this speaking shit, because there was this one particular day where some shit's always going down at Penn State. We're always on the fucking news, and some stupid shit happened, and the kids were getting pissed for no reason. And so I was challenging the students, and I just like ended up going off, like freestyle off the dome. That's the moment I knew like, wow, I think I really am supposed to be a speaker if I can speak this directly and so clearly on top of my head. That opportunity like taught me so much. I got to run the live stream team too. So like I helped them set up their cameras. I helped set up the audio, like angle this and angle that and stuff like that, which what I majored that in college anyway.
Yeah.
So that helped me develop my skills even further. Yeah, like that professor really just believed in me and set me up for success, and Really, like, that was a grandest opportunity for me to tap into my brilliance. Really fell in love with working with students then too. They were just always so curious, always had questions for me. And then 24 was when my partner then at the time and I decided to move across the country. So at 24, I moved across the country without a job lined up. I've been crazy.
Wow. How would you sum up, like, if you were to sum up the first half of your 20s, like 20 to like 24, right? Like in like one sentence, like what would it be?
Becoming.
Mm.
I feel like I was a fetus.
That's why whenever we meet people,
Like,
who are,
I think I was like,
yeah,
not maybe whatever is before becoming. I think I was just like only developing the awareness. I think that I was only starting to tap into like, wow, is this like, I knew like a 9 to 5 life wasn't for me, but it's kind of like, am I seriously fucking supposed to be a motivational speaker? Like, am I seriously supposed to be an entrepreneur? Like, what the fuck am I doing? But at the same time, let's just go with the flow and see what the fuck happens kind of shit. Like, a lot of faith building.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, a lot of like, you know what? Let's tap into everything that I'm good at and see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
I started coaching people then too at 23, 24.
Yeah.
So like, remember you used to talk about you and Kato talk about like being life coaches. I'm just like, I did the same fucking thing. I was coaching people already then too.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had a business without the business license.
Yeah.
24 was moving across the country. That's when Vulnerability is Dope started. So
damn,
actually,
24.
this is my 5-year anniversary.
Oh my god, dude.
Which I just realized. But
wow.
yeah, Vulnerability is Dope only started because I wanted to make extra cash to help support moving across the country with the expenses.
Yeah.
And I only came up with the idea of t-shirts is because like I knew how to make t-shirts.
Yeah.
Because from working at the all-night retail
No,
store.
yeah, I was just gonna say. Dude,
so then
wow.
the original design of Vulnerability is Dope. It just says vulnerability in like New York graffiti font with a crown on top of it. And I showed it to Gloria and I was like, hey, what do you think about this design? And she was like, what does that mean? I was like,
damn, she good.
Like, vulnerability is royalty. Like, what do you mean? She's like, but what does that mean? And I was like, vulnerability is the shit. Like, it's the highest value. And she was like, you know that because vulnerability is important to you because you've experienced the power of vulnerability. But when people look at your shirt, they're not actually going to align with it. They're not going to connect with it. They're not going to understand it. And she was like, humans understand a message better by just straight up reading it. So she was like, if you could just direct. So if you could just like say what you want to say, what would it be? And that's when I said vulnerability is dope. Because I always used to say it when I was to speak to my students.
Yeah.
And so the reason why vulnerability is, the font is bigger and is dope is smaller. Yeah. We explored vulnerability is dope in the same size font. I came up with 2 designs. It was all the same size or 2
not
different
the same
sizes.
size.
And
dude,
then
that was to Gloria though.
So then she was like, I really like the one that's not the same size because when I speak vulnerability is dope, I always do a pause and I say, vulnerability is dope. Yeah. And she like saw that in a video, saw me say that in a video or something like that. And she was like, you speak like that. So that's you, like do that one. Yeah. So that's why I chose that one. That's why how those t-shirts started. And then it was supposed to help me move across the country. Yeah. But then by the time I had moved across the country, people started to see the t-shirts or like see my friends wearing the shirts and be like, where did you get that? Yeah. So then more people would ask for more shirts. So then when I moved to San Diego, I made the shirts again. And then more people would see the t-shirts and be like, hey, I saw your shirt at the gym. Are you making more? And I would be like, I guess I'm making more. And then I made more t-shirts. And then freaking Danielle Franzi from Mean Girls emails me. And she's like, saw your shirt at a stand-up in New York. Can you make me a 3XL? I'm like, okay, I guess I'm making more. So I drive an hour and a half to go find the only 3XL black t-shirts in San Diego, go custom make it, send it. Oh no, I didn't send it over to her. I met him in person. I was like, I don't want to mail this to you. Do you have a show coming up in Cali? He says, yeah, I have a show coming up at the Laugh Factory in LA at this time. He said, I'll get you tickets. How many do you need? We got like 4. My friends and I go to the Laugh Factory in LA. I hand him the t-shirts. He gives me a shout out in front of the entire audience. He was going on tour, wore my shirt every single show on his tour, that more people wanted my shirts, and then it became what it is now.
Holy shit, dude. You make me believe in magic.
And then I made more designs, and then I started jiu-jitsu, and then the UFC champion was training in my friend's gym in San Diego, and he saw my friend wearing my shirt. He was like, I like your shirt. She tells me, so I send it to him. He wears the shirt. He posts a video on YouTube. People around the world sees my shirt on his chest on YouTube, and one day I wake up to a bunch of new orders. I mean, new emails asking about t-shirts, so I make more t-shirts.
It's gonna make a comeback this year.
Yes.
Q4.
5-year anniversary.
To be released in
5-year anniversary.
Wow. That was incredible. I never heard that story either.
Really just went a complete direction that is so cool. That shirt, a professor at Juilliard wears it. The most prestigious school of music in the world. And the professor at Juilliard is wearing it.
Yeah.
Somebody on New York Times wore it. It was about a sexual assault. The article, but it's on New York Times.
Yeah. Dude. Wow, dude. I'm just thinking about how all of it came together, and there's no way to know, it was all gonna come together, right? You working at the shop, getting all the skills to be able to do this, all the video and audio stuff that you've been doing, it really all links up eventually, and it's just crazy to think of this starting nearly a decade ago. And I think just hearing all this just makes me so excited, because it's wow, you really have to have faith, because I think all of your projects, what I really love is you do it out of things that you love, right? It's always been consistently what I'm passionate about, what I really believe in, what speaks to me, what speaks to my heart. And I feel that is for people who are thinking about what do I do, where do I go, how do I know what the right direction is, I feel whenever it's aligned with what you truly believe in, that's the way. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't see where it's gonna go, there's no fucking way you thought vulnerability stuff was gonna be where it is today. You know? You have freaking the college freaking asking for freaking hella orders of this shirt.
Yeah. I had this random ass marketing company in New York somehow find it and ordered 100 shirts for his entire team. I mean Claude Silver has a shirt too.
What?
Did I not tell you this story?
No.
Oh, she has a shirt. I've sent her a shirt, and through her I sent Gary Vee a shirt, and his camera guy a shirt too. Because remember that group that I used to be in through LinkedIn, Humans First?
Yeah.
And they were friends with Claude Silver?
Yeah.
And so somehow I got connected to Claude Silver. Oh, because when she was just on the come up for being a chief heart officer for VaynerMedia, I used to message her on Instagram, because she was changing the game when it comes to putting treating employees bringing human culture to corporate culture.
First,
and so I was fascinated by her work, so I used to message her a lot, and then I was so I make these t-shirts called Vulnerability is Dope. If I send you one, would you wear it? And she was like, hell yeah, I would wear it.
Damn.
So I sent it to VaynerMedia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But truly, the way that everything comes full circle is because, I made the choices to. I made the decisions to. And, it all really just stems from, if I were to really go back into my life, how this all started is because I was, making music, writing songs, and rapping since I was 13 years old, and learning how to make music on my own. And then even before that, as a kid, I used to be a little child in Korea with a fake microphone in my hand, singing along to the television.
Yeah.
I always just had a dream of having a microphone in my hand on stage in front of people.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, I gained so much interest in, like, music production and video production. And so in college, I majored in it. And it just so turned out that, like, everything that I kept doing, I just kept using those skills that I was learning and kept honing in on it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to keep making music. I didn't have to keep making t-shirts. But I just kept doing what I already know how to do. And it just... everything just becomes what it is now. I still make videos. I still can do voiceovers if I wanted to. I can do podcasts if I wanted to. I know how to set everything up. I just need the equipment.
Yeah.
Like, it's all because I just decide to keep tapping into it. Yeah. So I know that one of the things that Gary Vee used to say all the time is, like, if you're so lost and you don't know what your interests are and you don't know what your passion and purpose is, just do what you're interested in. Start there.
Yeah.
Just do everything and see what you like.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Wow.
Yeah!
I don't have words. I think I'm just very struck.
How long has this been?
Yeah.
Oh, an hour. Okay.
Damn.
We're only halfway through.
I know. I was thinking, like, oh, maybe we do it in, like, chunks, like 20, 26, 25, 26,
okay.
27, 28, and then 29.
24.
Right, so you moved across.
I moved across the country.
So now we're, like,
24 to 20. What age was I 2017? Rewind.
2017, you were 20...
20...
Wait.
Oh my god. I'm, like, literally...
You were 25. You were 25.
That's it? Wait,
yeah.
2017 minus... What am I doing? Oh, 2020. 5 years. So I was 25.
You were 25.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so 24, I think... I started working at... I moved across the country when I was 24. What year was that?
24 was 2016.
Okay, so I was turning 25. I was 24,
like,
turning 25 when I moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from that to whatever 2017 is to 2018.
Yeah.
That relationship that I was
25
in.
to 27.
Yeah, that relationship that I was in. So at this point, like, until we broke up, we were together for almost 4 years. We moved across the country together with our dog and our cat and my little Honda Fit. Yeah, we really just tried to make a life there, and we went to San Diego because we just wanted a fresh new start with our lives, individually and together. But the biggest test was, like, are we really capable of creating a whole new life on our own without knowing anybody? And I think that this was a real test to, like, how strong is our heart? How strong is our willingness? How strong is our, like, self-motivation and being solution-oriented? And
especially that one.
Yeah, it's just, like, continued to come about that it was evident that I'm, like, a natural leader. I have that in me. Yeah. And therefore, like, I've mentioned this many episodes, like, I have such a solver mindset. I have such a savior mindset. So I tried to have a solution for everything. And she didn't have a car at the time. I did. So I drove her to work every single time, every single shift, to save her money from Uber rides or anything, so that we can take that money to save it for a car. Like, everything was intentional. Like, everything was sacrificed. Like, she one time got an overnight shift at Macy's. And so we would have to, like... I would have to go, like, pick her up at, like, 4 or 5 a.m. But drop her off at, like, 10, 11 p.m. It was, like, some crazy shit. So I, like, barely got any sleep. But I was, like, willing to do it because it's teamwork and we are working together for a bigger future and all that shit. But, like, as time went by, it just became more and more and more evident that she was starting to depend on me a lot more and more and more and more, to a point where I just became super fucking unhappy. I was just so exhausted, so mentally drained, among so many other things. Like, on the outside, I think that we really were really great partners, and we had great communication skills. Like, we both took the same course in college where we learned about nonviolent communication. And so we never argued. And that was one part that I loved about our relationship. We never argued. We would just have dialogues and conversation and like requesting our needs and like how we felt by a certain action and like da 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 da. And it was great. I love that. But the whole dependency thing just like became way too freaking much for me. I was absolutely freaking miserable. And so that just kind of ended. And you know, that was one of the bigger questions that I asked myself at that moment was like, whatever her self-development journey is this a journey that I'm supposed to be on with her to support her, or is this a journey that we're supposed to go on separately?
Right.
And I used to think that that's a pretty valid question to ask. But now when I look back, because I asked the same question my previous relationship, my latest relationship, I now realize that if it gets to that point, the answer is automatically yes, it's a separate journey.
Yeah.
Like, if when it comes to self-development and all of that stuff, yes, it's always going to be an individual journey. There's no question about it. As soon as you shouldn't wait for an answer. The answer is going to be yes.
Yeah.
Especially when the relationship becomes way too dependent. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons for me. Like, letting go of that relationship was so freaking hard because, like, we thought we were going to get married. We thought that we were meant to be. We moved across the country together. We have kids together.
Yeah.
You know? And besides, it was so hard knowing that, like, I started to make friends. I'm very good at making friends.
Mm-hmm.
She had an extremely hard time making friends. And so, like, a part of me was heartbroken because I knew that when we break up, she would be alone.
Yeah.
And so she kept the dog and the cat. I took the king size bed. But to this day, like, we're on really good terms, and I'm seeing them next month, or the dog and her next month. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah, definitely needed some time to heal. But when we used to check in once in a while after the relationship, like, she realized too that she was depending a little too much on me, and she had to, like, really hone into her own power.
Yeah.
Now she's does this, like, self-empowerment, empowerment woman. She's like a fitness instructor at a gym now. Like, she used to, like, not work out. She used to not. I taught her how to lift.
Yeah.
But now she's, like, doing all this crazy shit, and now she's a trainer.
Yeah.
She did, like, a whole bikini bodybuilding show too after we broke up. Like when I tell you she went through a journey.
Yeah.
She went through a journey.
Yeah.
She also started working for my former mentor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to have a mentor. He was the guy who taught me everything about how to be a high performer. And he used to have this podcast that I used to be obsessed with. And I became obsessed with it because when I found this podcast, the first episode I heard was this. He said, man, whatever you're going through in life, it must be so hard. Man, you've been through so much. And I'm so sorry that you're a little bitch. And I was like, oh shit, hell yeah, this is it right here. Because I was, like, tapping into becoming an entrepreneur, and I felt like my friends didn't understand me, and, like, no one around me was an entrepreneur. And he would be like, you gotta, like, have all the system in place. You gotta wake up at a certain time. You gotta read. You gotta invest. You gotta have 10% this, 10% this, 10% here. This is where your money goes. These are the books that you should be reading. Like, da 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 da. And, like, honestly, I did learn so much from him. Like, everything that I teach as a coach is because of him. Like, having systems down, having time blocks down, like, learning strategically. He used to be like, I take a break every quarter, and I go to my beach house every 2 quarters, and I go on a vacation every year. Yeah. So he would have a break every quarter, and then he would, like, go on a break with his wife, strategize per quarter to visit their quarterly goals. And then every 2 quarters, he would go to his beach house to revisit their bi-quarterly goals and to see if they're on their way for their yearly goals. And then every year they go on a grand vacation. So it's not like he wasn't preaching rest, like he was. I think what changed my mind for me was when I started working for him, and it turned out that the boss that he is very different than the teacher and coach he is. He was a great coach, poor boss. He, like, it really surprised me that how he wasn't a good, like, I think he wasn't good at like managing people and all the different emotions that he had to deal with. I don't know what he's up to now, but at the time he was a great mentor. I appreciated everything that he did for me because he believed in me so much. So then like I left that life, and then here comes my ex like joining that team, started working for him, and one day she went through this phase and she was like, "Where's the self-motivated Jiggy that always used to be so hyped? What happened to that Jiggy?" And I was like, "I know what the fuck you're doing because I used to work for the same man that you're working for now. And I just want you to know that's not going to slide with me. Don't play that shit. And also, that Jiggy left because she got tired from our relationship."
Yeah.
So then she went through that whole like hoorah phase too. But yeah, there was a mentor that I once had. Like when I tell you that I'm a recovering like A+er and like hustle addict, like I really was about that shit. Andy Frisella's podcast, I used to listen to him. I used to know Andy Frisella before he ever had the podcast. I knew him since he was starting First Form.
Yeah.
Like the dun 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 that podcast like used to be literally my shit.
Yeah.
Like Grant Cardone, all of them, I used to praise them heavily. Wow. This was all in the same decade? Holy shit.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think was the turning point, like, for that? Because I think that's coming up, right? Like, in the next, like, chapter, right? Because we're in 2019, so now you're in the chapter of, like, 27, 28-ish. And so I feel like this is when it really started to... I feel like this is when things started shifting. And so was there a point in those years that you're just like, yeah, this was the moment that I realized like not everything that they were saying was aligned for me?
I don't remember like what happened, but I remember starting to become really curious about like burnout and self-compassion after my mom died. Like I know that after observing my mom pass away from cancer, she's the one who taught me about work ethic. Yeah. And to watch the same person pass away from cancer started to like raise a lot of questions for me. And so I used to be like, this can't be the only way of living. And then I also so my mentor that I used to work for, like I always saw bags under his eyes. And so I was like, wow, like he's so dedicated, he's building his business, he's losing sleep, like da 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 da. But what really also opened my eyes was that like his marriage was kind of always at a fumble, and it made me kind of question that too. I'm just like, how if this is all I'm exposed to, like hard workers can pass away from cancer, hard workers and their marriage is suffering. Like I'm not getting really healthy examples of what entrepreneurship and hustle looks like. Right. And so I started to get really curious, like, is this the only way of living? And I think that's when I started to come across like the whole stories behind Ariana Huffington and the reason why she left the Huffington Post. But I started to like really hone and have my own voice.
You were coaching people. And
I was
you
coaching
saw how
people.
Toxic the culture was too.
Yeah.
Like in there, I feel like that was why. Like,
yeah. And I think that like as I was coaching a lot of people then too, and like that's when I used to just really be like, guys, you have to put rest in your strategy. You have to put rest into strategy, like, because to me it was like self-compassion for high performance. Remember, so like the whole point of self-compassion was for high performance. So it's like the whole point to rest is to be a better performer, and so like you have to rest in order to perform longer. Nowadays it's like you gotta rest because you're human. Yeah. It's point blank clear. Like high performance or not, everybody should fucking rest. Yeah. But like back then, that was like my logic. Right. And so I was just like tapping into that.
Something shifted in between the time that I met you. Yeah. And like I think like I had just met you at the time that you were starting to shift. Like you were like moving in that direction, because that was 2009. Enter new character. 2019. Like when I actually met you.
New character. Who's Steph? Sliding in my DMs.
I know.
Crying in a voice memo.
I think we talked about this story before.
And Kato.
Yeah, but I definitely feel like this is like when it started like really like around that time, I think.
I think this is when I really started to tap into like owning the space of calling myself like a mental health.
That's what
speaker is not just a motivational speaker, but a mental health speaker, because like I used to just call myself a motivational speaker, but I was like, this isn't I don't think this is all it. There's more to this.
Yeah.
Like, why do I keep talking about my mom? What is it about the experience of my mom that I've been impacted by? And I was like, is it mental health? And then but now it's like much more than just mental health. It's grieving.
Yeah.
It's fucking grieving.
Yeah.
It took me 10 years to realize it's grieving.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the tapping into the mental health side of things really started to, that too. But 24 to 26 was also when I developed the whole like onion theory that I have.
Yeah.
Because moving across the country really makes you question like who really am I willing to stay in touch with?
Right.
And like who really does believe in me, who really does go out of their way to support me and stuff. And I went through my own phase. Like, there's a reason why I moved across the country to San Diego. And I said it a few episodes ago, too, that I really needed my solitude. I needed space away from everybody because they didn't really understand me. All of that stuff. I went through that whole, like, I gotta grind and focus on my own. And I don't have time for friends. Like, that shit, too. But the onion theory came about is because, like, I'm realizing that, like, I'm across the country. Like, I
let
can't
people know what the onion theory is.
The onion theory is basically instead of just cutting people off and just canceling friends away, like canceling people, it's about just navigating like the intention for the relationship and then understanding like where in your life do you place them. Not all of your best friends and friends has to stay close to you. Not all of them has to know what your goals are. Not all of them has to witness your vulnerability. Like there are seasons that people go through. Certain seasons, some friends are gonna understand you more than the other. Sometimes you develop new interests and some friends are gonna understand that new interest more than the other. And that doesn't mean that you just cut them off. To me, at least, because my friends are my life. And so I'm not willing to just cancel somebody just because they weren't there for me at such time, because they usually always come back at certain seasons of my life. So like, but if a friendship proves to be toxic or doesn't serve me anymore, it's time to peel the onion. But so the friendships move from per layer of the onion. Who is closest to the core of the onion, which is my heart, my goals, my dreams. Who is supportive of that directly. And then the outer layer maybe just people I fuck around with, people I catch up with. And then like the outer layer is like, I also think in terms of weddings too. Who's gonna walk me down the aisle? Who's gonna marry me and my wife? Who's gonna be in my wedding party? And then who's invited to the wedding? And then who's only invited to the reception? And then who's not invited at all? Of course, I think in weddings because I'm a Libra, but like
such a Libra.
These things really like
no, they do. I think they really
matter.
help you determine like who's really most important like in your life, because you can't bring the whole world. Yeah, so like that's how the onion theory came about, because like, but the thing is that even if I'm across the country and even if I don't talk to them every day, friendship's always proven to be that when you catch up with somebody, it feels like you talked to them just yesterday. So
and then 27, 28. This bitch came into my life, and we've been taking over the world ever since.
Is that how you would define 27, 28? This was really big shifts, honestly. Like, I think there was a lot of slowing down, like, during this chapter. Like, I felt like when I met you, like, you were the first person who literally, like, knocked me for being proud of waking up at 5 a.m. During the gala.
What did I say?
No, you just said, like some of y'all like are up at 5 a.m. but it's like, what is the intention of just because you're at 5 a.m. like
what are you doing?
What are you trying to do? Like, what are you trying to prove? Right? And when I heard that, I was like, what am I trying to prove? Fuck. And so that's when it started occurring to me, like, wow, like there's gotta be intentionality in what you do. So that's like one of the first things I remember from that like gala. But I definitely feel like there's been massive shifts actually since I met you. And I think a lot of it is like moving away towards the like black and white thinking of like things have to be a certain way, but just welcoming a lot more nuance, I think, in not just your like entrepreneurship and like business ideals, but also in how you show up in your life, like how you show up in your relationship. And I think you've made a lot more space for things to be like more there's like more color and more complexity and like more being able to be with like all of that. Yeah.
Wow, that like randomly reminded me that before I moved across the country, I had like one friend who was in California, and it was Jeremy Sarai. And the reason why I knew him was because I was obsessed with Randall Pitch from Live Fit. And Jeremy was doing vlogs for him, and I was like, I really like these vlogs. Who's making them? And this dude with 2,000 followers on YouTube, Jeremy was it, and he was still responsive enough to like DMs and stuff. And then somehow like he always talked about these like pretzel buns and Costco, and I was like, what is this Costco thing he always goes to? And like, do all Californians, like, are they all eating pretzel buns? And he started talking about pokey, and I was like, what's pokey? And
it's very California.
Yeah, like I sent him my very first edition of Vulnerability is Dope t-shirts in black and in maroon. So I sent him 2, and in the letter I wrote, hey, let your girlfriend decide which one she wants first. Just be a gentleman and let her pick the color. So she picked the maroon one, and to this day she still wears it. I see it in their videos. It's pretty cute. But that's like the first friend that I had in California, and I moved to San Diego. I said, hey, I'm here in San Diego now. I moved. Where do you live? And he was like, he said Irvine.
Near Diamond Jackery.
Yeah, that Diamond Jubilee, whatever I was saying. And then I was like, okay, like, I don't know how far that is, but can we try to meet up? And so I drove up to Irvine, and we met up. And I remember that we did a video together for his vlog, because he was like, you know, like, I've never met somebody who actually does what they say they're gonna do, and you literally really did move across the country. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about like entrepreneurship and how I was like, man, Jeremy, I don't know about you, but like sometimes I can't even shower in peace because I'm so stressed. And he was like, he starts laughing. He's like, yeah. And so we were just like bonding over that. But like even then, my dream was to meet Randall Pitch, because Randall Pitch was also a really big inspiration for me starting off my entrepreneurship journey. And like he motivated me a lot. I used to say that work as if your mentor is watching over you, like watching you. And so I used to imagine, like when I'm working, I used to imagine like Randall Pitch being next to me watching me work or something, and that used to just motivate me a lot. And so Jeremy took me to the Live Fit warehouse, and you know they had their little gym there, and Randall wasn't there at the time, but I still got to work out with Jeremy in the Live Fit warehouse. And like we took pictures there, and I took a picture next to like the Live Fit sign and stuff, and that was super cool. And then Jeremy and I like hung out again. He introduced me to his friends, and then I ended up meeting Ron, who now runs Seniors Fight Back. That's how I got involved with Seniors Fight Back now.
This is wild.
Yeah, so
dude.
Yeah, so
wow.
Like Jeremy, the first day we met, he took me to get pokey.
Yeah.
And that was my first time having pokey.
Yeah.
Jeremy also took me to the 85 degree thing, so that's where I went for the first time too.
Wow.
Yeah, just like very randomly he's a part of my story, and then like I meet other people from UCI. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but like I meet other people from UCI, and apparently like the little bit of the stories that I'm understanding is that like Jeremy's the hot guy at the gym or something.
I've seen him at the gym. Yes, I remember seeing him, and I'm just
but like clearly I don't know. Clearly I don't know that, but I guess like yeah, everybody knows him. But yeah, that's such a random story. And then through Jeremy, I know Neil. Yeah. And then like Neil, but I didn't meet Neil until like 2-3 years later of knowing him. Yeah. I met him for the first time at that powerlifting meet. After I met you. Like it's just very like
it's so serendipitous.
But I don't know. Like I feel like all UCI people know each other too, one way or the other.
UCI is pretty small.
But yeah, that's just like a random bit. But now I volunteer at Seniors Fight Back, and Ron is the head coach.
Yeah.
So, really just full circle moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, 27, 28 was kind of like I feel like because it was also pandemic, like during that time.
Dude, pandemic was so interesting.
I feel like there was a lot of like healing, inner, like there's a lot like going on, in there. And yeah, I'm wondering if you have anything that you feel called to like share about that chapter before we chat about 29. And then
2020 was so dark. It was just dark.
Remember what you said in Powerwolf? like at our retreat. You said dude.
I even have the clip. I should show you.
I know.
The clip. So, I guess we're saying the P word. So Powerwolf.
Yeah.
We had like a team meeting in NorCal in 2019, and we were setting our intentions and goals for 2020 as a company, and also individually. And I said, when it was my turn, I said, I honestly don't know what 2020 is gonna look like for me, because all of my life, I don't know why, but the number 2020 was always in my head, and I thought that this year was gonna be so big I thought I was gonna die. Mm-hmm. And that's the clip. Roll the clip. But it turned out that 2020 was the pandemic.
That's how big it was. It was global.
Yeah, it was fucking global. It was international. And I'm just like, I obviously didn't know this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fucking crazy. 2020 was just really dark, personally and relationship wise. Like, I was reading a lot of articles like throughout 2020, and a lot of people said that a lot of breakups happened in 2020, and people realized that they're not truly happy in their relationship, or maybe they're in a toxic relationship. And for me, I read an article that said like, the title of it was like, I feel like I'm living with my abuser. And that's my truth too. That was my experience too. And that's not like me talking shit about my ex. It's just that like the experience of that relationship, like literally I just cried so hard, so much that year. There were times I cried so hard I was crying out to my mom. There were times that I was crying so hard and I couldn't get any privacy in the house because everybody was in the house. So I used to go into the garage freezing cold and just sit there in the dark for hours crying. Like, 2020 fucking, like, sucked isn't even the word. It is, what is worse than sucked? It is like a black hole. Like that level of suck. Like, you get sucked in and you can't escape. And I can't even believe that I passed through 2020, still didn't get the hint, and still made it through 2021 with the relationship, and finally my therapist comes along, and then I broke up in November. Like, shit.
Dude, I'm shocked that it was only a year ago. Like, it was all quite recent. And I feel like ever since then, I feel like there's been so much movement, so many realizations, so much healing. I feel like that's happened, like, since as you're coming up on, like, 30, in terms of, like, how you view relationships, which I think has been a very significant part of your, like, second half of your 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a narcissistic gaslighting. Like, I couldn't go back to San Diego for a few years. Can't blame myself. I can't shame myself. When I used to live there, I was fucking miserable. I was constantly having anxiety attacks. Like, I was just not fucking happy at all. It was just fucking exhausting. It held me back so much. And like, I look back at my 20s and it's like, I got so much done while I was miserable, while I was suffering, while I didn't have many people around me supporting me. Just imagine me going into my 30s. I have so much love. Yeah. I have so many dope people. I have so many powerful people. Eric Thomas knows who I am. I'm friends with Eric Thomas's mom now. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is 30 gonna be like? If I can get that much done when, like, I got all that weight on my shoulders, imagine how much I can get done with that shit off.
Yeah.
Like, watch out, bitches. I'm coming out.
I got arrested, Jiggy, coming into the 30s.
I'm happy, Jiggy. I'm peaceful, Jiggy. I'm joyful, Jiggy.
Yeah. I'm
2 Kaylani shows in, Jiggy. Like,
motivated, Jiggy. Loved, Jiggy. Self-loved, Jiggy.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Wow. Okay. Is there anything that you want to share about your 29th in terms of, like, lessons? If there's, like, one big thing.
Bitches, tell your parents you love them, and listen up, bitches. Tell your parents that you love them. No, I don't want to make that a strict rule, because I know that people have, like, complicated relationship with their parents and stuff, and I'm not going to force anybody to do that, and I'm not saying that that's the only relationship that matters in life. However, this is true. I said it before and I'm going to keep saying it. Memories and relationships are truly going to be the only things that show up to your funeral. It's the only thing that's going to matter at your last moments, as well as the people in your lives' last moments with you. Everybody's going to probably cry. Everybody's probably going to, share meals and share their memories, their favorite memories with you. The impact that you have on people is what they're going to remember. The way that they celebrate you, the way that they honor you, the way that they carry your legacy is going to be based off of who you are as a person, how you serve the world, and how you influence other people. And that can only be created through relationships and memories. All of those are based off of memories. And so, I understand that jobs and careers and, money and climbing the corporate ladder and making dreams come true, all of these things are really important things because they're directly correlated to our well-being. I'm sorry, but, in a capitalistic society, we need money to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's just a society. We gotta pay money to get massages. We gotta pay money to go to retreats. We gotta pay money to get great quality food. It takes money for everything, and I get it. I think my only request is, don't let that blind you, though. Koreans always say, health is the best. 최고야. It's the best. It's the only thing that matters at the end of the day. Yeah. And so, just, take care of your health. Shit. Take care of your health. Yeah, take care of your health. That's it. And then love as much as possible. To me, I don't understand. I've always been this way. It didn't have to take my dad passing away for me to do this. I always tell my friends I love them. I tell them I miss them if I fucking feel like I miss them. Why not? Why do we keep those things back? It literally costs nothing. It makes the other person feel special. Why aren't we doing it? I don't know, but start fucking doing it. Memories and relationships are gonna be the most important things. Literally ever. And I hope that it doesn't have to be too late for you to understand that. And at the same time, even though you practice it now, the entirety of the experience won't actually overcome you until the day you experience a loss of somebody. But at least now somebody's telling you. I'm telling you directly and I'm not fucking around. Relationships and memories are going to be the most important things in your life.
I know. When you think about Jiggy in her 20s, is there anything that you want to say to her? Thinking about Jiggy through the years in this last decade.
Yeah,
is there anything
always get asked this question.
Is there anything that you want to release?
Anything I want to release? Release. Speaking of release, I used to do this thing for my mom's anniversary every year, or her birthday. I forget which. My friends used to get me these lanterns. You know, the ones you can fire up and fly away. So it was for my birthday. For my birthday every year, they used to get me these lanterns. It was on my wish list, and so we would all meet up at this arboretum in Penn State at night. And we would all bring markers, and then we would write who we are honoring. So all of my friends, we would get 3 gigantic lanterns, and then everybody would take turns who they're honoring and stuff, and then we would light them up together and let them fly away. I don't know why I stopped doing that. I think it's just a fire hazard.
It's probably not good for the environment.
I'm pretty sure it was illegal in Pennsylvania too. What I want to release. Yeah. Release? Is that what I want to look for? I think I just want to
or colon
wrap it up in a bow. What a gift 20s was. It was fucking hard as hell. From 10 to 19 was fucking hard. From 10 to 19, I fucking moved to America, and I came out, and I lost a home to fire, and all the shit. From 10 to 19, oh my freaking god. And then from 20 to 29, I'm starting to see a theme here. From 20 to 29, my dad dies, and it's something's always in, it always ends with a great loss. Like, I lose a home and I lose my dad. Damn, can I just, like, get a break for fucking once? Holy shit. Okay. So, I'm wrapping this up in a bow. I'm really thankful for my 20s. I'm so thankful that Jiggy said just, like, fuck it, and moved across the country. It's not easy. It's not easy to figure it all out. It's not easy to have faith that, like, we're gonna do this on our own and just drive across the country. God forbid what the fuck is gonna happen on the road with a dog and a cat. But we made it happen. It was just such a smooth sail across the country, and I'm so certain of it that that's how I know that that's exactly what God wanted me to do. And I'm so thankful that young Jiggy took that risk to make our dreams come true. That Cali living, like, I'm to this day, I'm amazed by palm trees. Like, I still can't believe that I'm here. I'm just thankful for, I mean, I said it like a few episodes ago, but, like, I'm just so thankful for what a badass young Jiggy is. Like, life has been so fucking hard, and relationships have been hard, taking risks have been hard, being played, getting backstabbed have been hard, fucking people trying to take advantage of me was fucking hard. When it seemed like the world was turning against me and I had nobody else, it was fucking hard. Like, everything was so hard. But the one consistent thing is that I always stayed true to my heart. I always stayed aligned with my values. I never betrayed myself, and I stay consistently a good fucking person. I can really say I don't think I've ever done anyone wrong. Maybe I made a couple mistakes along the way, but I don't know. I think I kept true to myself this entire time. And I still made it through. Somehow, you know, life came to a point. I stayed consistent enough that, like, I'm certified by Eric Thomas now, and Eric Thomas knows who I am now, and like, that's just crazy to me. But it's crazy but not surprising, because I intentionally put the work to end up here. And I'm thankful that Jiggy just never gave up. And I'm really thankful for all of the friends that are in my life, that came into my life. It takes a village. And I'm thankful for every chapter of my life. There were the people in those chapters were perfect. Like, God casted that chapter of my life perfectly to have me over to the next season. And, like, shit, I am ready for 30. I am so ready for 30, because I always said this. I've been speaking for a very fucking long time. And I always felt like students, like, kind of respected me, but kind of not, because I was still, like, in my 20s. And they'd be like, oh, you're still in your 20s. Like, what do you know? But, like, now that I'm 30. And, you know, I remember when I was a kid and I used to look at 30-year-olds like, wow, they're 30 and they're so grown up, which, like, we know is a fucking lie. But, like, now that I'm 30, I'm like, yeah, I got authority. Yeah, you're gonna listen to me. Yeah, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah, you're gonna pay me for it. Yeah, you're gonna take notes. Yeah, you're gonna do exactly what the fuck I tell you to do. And no, you can't. You can't ask me questions. You can't clap back, no nothing. You better respect your elders. So...
She's graduated to elder status.
Respect me. Respect thy elder.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know what 30s are gonna bring, but, like, I really hope that I still continue to not give up. I really hope that the next 10 years, I can't say that I hope it's not hard, but I really hope that it's, if people can stop dying, that'll be really great. I just want, I don't think it's foolish of me to wish for a little more ease in my life.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of suffering. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of challenges. I just want ease.
Yeah.
I'm good at challenges. That's not a problem. I just need a break. And I want a little ease.
Yeah.
Just feel comfortable in my own world that I live in. Not be so miserable all the time. Not have such heavy shoulders all the time. I hope to continue to move forward. I really think that my 30s is gonna be the time that all of my dreams come true. Like, I really think that by the time I'm 39 going 40, I really believe I'll be closer to my dreams of like being a billionaire and Nobel Prize. Like I'm just gonna work so fucking hard because I have no weight on me anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm just so fucking ready.
Yeah.
So, and I think God thinks I'm ready too. So yeah, I'm just really ready to like make the fullest of my potential. No distractions, no energy going elsewhere but myself and my dreams. Building empires with my friends, whether it's taking over the world, whether it's through relationships, whether it's through Disney World, like whatever the fuck it is, like we're gonna do everything. Just it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I hope. My hope for you is like 3 primary things. So like my hope is that there is a lot more ease. And my hope is also that you are safe. I think like that's something that we just don't talk enough about, and like safety is in like safety just to be in your own home, to like be in relationship with other people, and I think in safety there's like love. Like I think that's like where that is, and I think my last thing that I hope for is a lot of peace. Like I think that's
everything that I've been wishing for.
Yeah.
Peace and safety.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a really mature conversation with myself today, and I think you'll be proud.
Okay, tell me about it.
I had to check in and ask myself a question today.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Kaylani's watching this, I hope you don't get mad. I hope you're not mad at me for this.
I know what she's
But
gonna
I
say.
think I woke up this morning and I had this inkling. And I was like, I think Kaylani and her girlfriend broke up. Like, I just like woke up feeling this way. And then I'm on like Instagram and I see that Kaylani's like having a little more fun than what seems like usual at her after party. And then she said that like that show was her best show, and I was like, I wonder like what brought that on, this energy. And then like the other day she did an Instagram live where she was having a tough mental health day, so she had to like cancel her meet and greets for a while, like multiple meet and greets. And then I go to her girlfriend's page, and they're not following each other anymore. So I was like, okay, Jiggy, so like let's say that they broke up. Okay, now's my chance. But then I was like, okay, now if it's a possibility, do I want to date Kaylani or do I want to date X? X as in like the letter X, like blank, not like X like an ex-girlfriend.
Not EX.
Okay, let's pick a different fucking letter.
Z.
Z, okay. Do I want to date Kaylani or would I want to date Z? Whoever Z is. Like Z is like it could be literally anybody.
Yeah.
Whoever my next partner in life will be. And the old Jiggy, and by old Jiggy I mean like
she's 30 now.
Like, I mean like
she's
last
30
week.
now.
I meant like Jiggy last week. But the Jiggy last week, or like the old Jiggy, would have been like, oh yeah, Kaylani, definitely. That's like love of my life. She's so hot. Like da 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 da. But today I asked, well, who do I feel safe with? It's possible I'm not gonna feel safe with Kaylani.
That's very possible. It's right.
So I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm not gonna date Kaylani just because it's Kaylani. I'm gonna date who I feel safe with. Growth.
Who feels like soup?
Who feels like soup?
Yes.
Even though Kaylani feels like soup.
Her
Growth. You're witnessing growth right now in real time. We're not over here like we're holier than thou and we know everything and got everything figured out. We're growing with y'all.
It's a life process. Wow. That's big. That's major, actually. Like, I feel like you persevere and you're very stubborn at times about things. And I just love that you're, like, open to different experiences and different people. And maybe, like, that openness may bring somebody in. Who knows? If this was your 20s, I don't even know what your 30s is going to be like.
I don't even want to think about it. I just want to take it day by day. I can't believe, like, looking back, just this was a good reflection before 30. Like,
Yeah.
next time you see us, it'll be our last episode of our season.
Season 1.
We don't know when we'll be back, but hopefully,
we'll let you know.
Hopefully not longer than a month. That seems.
Don't
like
miss us too much.
Just rewatch because there's so many notes to take.
There's so many nuggets, dude.
This was a good start to like what we got going on. Like the whole launching the podcast thing.
Oh yeah. I'm very proud. I feel like episode 10 we should just do a reflection on what that was. Like.
Episode 10. We still didn't get our intro down. At what point did Steph stop slapping her legs?
Never.
Her knee?
Never. Do we introduce a main character every single time?
New character!
We should look at highlights of that's a cool concept.
Moments.
Yeah, our favorite
Okay.
moments from the season. That'd be a fun one.
Dude, I gotta say, it's the knock at the door. It's the knock at the door.
That was a really fun one. Yeah. But
Thanks for tuning in.
happy early birthday to Jiggy.
Put your takeaways below.
In the video ask link.
Send me a birthday gift. My Venmo is Jiggy-Yoon.
YOON.
Okay.
See y'all next time.
Bye. Say bye, Noah.
Dude, when he came in here, that was really funny.